Hello, and welcome back to Specimen the Sociologist. This is your host, Jessamyn Reichmann. Now, if you're new here, I just want to let you know that I have a little tradition where I start off each episode with a business spotlight. This is an opportunity to showcase either an independent artist or small business who is ready to share either their gift or their services with the world. And I found this person by chance with a conversation that I had with my mom, a gentleman named John, all in a Bavarian-themed pub. So, if you have never been to Leavenworth, Washington, it is a cute village nestled in between a few mountains, and it's all Bavarian themed. So, it feels like you're walking through a little German town. So, last night, my mom and I wanted to have a cheeky nightcap. So, we went across the street from our hotel, and again, walked into a bar. We each ordered a liter of their house IPA and found a really cute table to cozy around. They had a cute little fireplace in the center, and we just began yapping the yap and talking about this and that. And so, as we were giggling and talking about heaven knows what, we struck up a great conversation with a worker named John. And that is when the evening truly began. As John started to share more about his life and his family, you could easily tell that he had a heart of gold. Not only that, but he was a great conversationalist. Throughout the entire night and in between helping customers and delivering food, he mentioned how proud he was of his wife's gemstone and hand-cast jewelry collection. Now, in that moment, as any good detective would do, I put on my invisible Jessamyn Holmes hat and I was on the case to find her Instagram page. After a few quick searches and a couple of scrolls, I could see why John was proud of his wife's work. Haley's ability to craft reused materials and natural gemstones into both subtle and bold statement pieces was unique. There were earrings with mushrooms and yarrow, as well as crushed pearls to sunstones. And jewelry aside, in each of her posts, you could see her character pop out, whether it was her deep love for Earth, people, or her phenomenal husband, John. So I would say that with this business, you get not only jewelry, but a renewed love for life. So I'll make sure to attach her business information at the end of today's episode. And without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. If you're new here, welcome. I have a segment called Voice Memos, and this is based off the iPhone app called dun, da, 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 Voice Memos. Because in my personal life, I love sending these things to my friends and my family members, whether they are 3 seconds or 30 minutes, filled with great content or with sweet nothings. It's just a way that I love to unconventionally communicate with people. However, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite childhood movies, Miss Congeniality, starring the one, the only Sandra Bullock. And what made me think back to this movie was I was having a conversation not too long ago with my friend from college. And as we were just talking about, the people in our lives and missing the part of being on campus, she had loosely mentioned that she viewed me as the Miss Congeniality of Loyola. I was like, girl, but why would you make such a bold statement? And she said, well, one of the hardest things about our friendship was walking from one class to another class because you would stop and have conversations at minimum with 10 people, ranging from your professors to students to the cleaning service and staff, or to any person who was even looking for directions on where to go. You would always just find yourself in conversation and unapologetically being yourself. So I took that as a lovely compliment. And I just never considered myself to be Miss Congeniality. I just simply love people. I just love talking to people. But after our conversation, it made me think back to that movie. And I can now see why, at an older age, why I simply just love the essence of the film. So if you've never watched it before, it is a 2000 American action comedy. And it follows the life of a 28-year-old undercover FBI agent. Now, the movie starts off when a terrorist threatens to bomb the Miss United States beauty pageant. So, in the moment, the FBI rushes to find a female agent to go undercover as a contestant. Unfortunately, Gracie is the only female FBI agent who can quote unquote look the part. Despite her complete lack of refinement and femininity, she prides herself in being quote unquote just one of the boys. But in a moment, she had to become a quote unquote girly girl. And so, as she is going through this process of being a contestant and learning all about the world of pageantry, she begins to find herself in the process. And when she finds herself, it's not because she's becoming a new version of her, but she's rather putting on display the things that set her apart. So she has an ability to snort. She doesn't have the best mannerisms. She has a great sense of humor, and she has a heart of a warrior. And that's what pushes her pretty far along in the competition and ultimately ends up saving the competition. So I'm not going to ruin the film for you without sharing the final details, but it truly is a great character development arc if one ever saw one. So the final scene of the movie ends with a pageant farewell breakfast where Gracie, the undercover FBI agent, tearfully accepts her Miss Congeniality title. And whilst no Miss USA, it definitely still is emotional because she finally understands the true spirit of pageantry, and that is to express unapologetically all of who you are. And so for me, I was like, my friend had called me Miss Congeniality. I was like, what do you mean by that? And after I sat with myself for a second, I'm like, oh, no, I am the Miss Congeniality of my own world because I really do love all the things that set me apart. Whether it's the way that I sometimes tend to mumble, or I get really excited and I say yes to a million things, or the ways in which I mispronounce words, or I speak too fast, or I speak too slow, or I am an insane dreamer and I just love to help any person at any time, or even the way that I tend to be messy. Not dirty though. There's a difference. All right. But like sometimes like you can definitely tell like Jessamyn's home and her shoes are by the door and her keys over here. And is that eye contact on the ceiling? Like I just have a way of just really being fully on display unapologetically all the time. And what I love about that is that's my superpower. That's what allows me to connect with people, whether it was John last night to learn about his wife, or whether it's my ability to connect with the security guards at work, or my ability to connect with a bus driver or with my local cashier, that it's in my being that I'm able to be present with the people around me and also bring out the fun parts in them. So I just love living a life of generosity, which I wouldn't consider that being a characteristic trait for Miss Congeniality, but it really is fun to use my personality as an avenue to give life, whether through a formal conversation, through a job recommendation, or through an encouraging question. Like, I just love all of who I am. And so I guess my question I would leave you with today on this voice memo is what makes you either the Miss or Mr. Congeniality of your life? So, yeah, that's about it. I'm going to go swimming with my cousins because they're outside in the hot tub and in the pool. So, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.